What's up guys, Cam Browne. So today we're talking color grading. It's the reason why I think I was able to gain some traction with a $500 camera. It's because I spent a lot of time in the beginning learning the ins and outs of color grading and what works for me, and I want to share some tips with you guys, so let's get into it. So we're in Premiere Pro, and these are some clips that I shot a few weeks ago with my friend Yosef. They are shot in a log profile, which means they're pretty flat and desaturated, so we got to take care of that right away. First thing we're gonna do is make an adjustment layer and drag that over top of the files that we want to color grade. We then go from there into the effects panel, type in Lumix color, drop this effect right onto the adjustment layer. So this is the point where things get a little bit tricky. So in my case, I shot this with a Lumix GH5s in Vlog. So I'm gonna go online and find a GH5s Vlog conversion LUT to Rec 709 to give things more contrast, bring the shadows down, the highlights up, and put more color into the image. If you shot this on a Sony, you need to find a Sony conversion LUT. If you shot it on a red conversion LUT, and so on. So in my case, I already have my conversion LUT that I use all the time, and I'm going to put this in the basic correction. This looks really good already. I think if I uploaded it to YouTube right now, people would say it's fully color graded, but we're gonna add a little bit more to take it to the next level. So we're gonna close the basic correction tab and open up the creative. A log conversions LUT's job is to take your log footage that's very flat and not interesting and just change it to the true colors that were on set that day. Now a creative LUT is to take those true colors and add a little spin on them to make it a little bit more appealing. The thing to remember when you're adding creative LUTs is that no LUT will work for all footage and all lighting scenarios. So you really need to play with them and the levels to get exactly the look you're going for. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. First thing I'm gonna do is try some teal and orange LUTs because there's some nice shadows that'll work with the teal and some highlights that I really want to emphasize and make them a little bit warmer. And I think that one of these is the one I'm going to go for, but just to make sure, I'm going to go into a couple other LUTs that I use and see if I like them any better. Now see that this LUT is, all it's really doing is adding some contrast and making his skin not nice to look at, so I'm gonna stay clear of that one. And that's the ASPEN LUT, and usually that LUT works on so much of my footage and makes everything look great, but in this lighting scenario, it doesn't look so nice. Second one, I'm going to use SEDONA, which is a favorite of mine. And this one doesn't work that amazing at 100. Let's see if I bring it down. It gets a little bit better, but still it's changing these shadows to a little bit more blue than I would like, so it looks like this one is not going to work either. So I'm gonna use one of these teal and orange ones. One thing I'm looking for when I'm looking at these LUTs is how's it treating the highlights and how's it treating the shadows? Am I losing all detail in the shadows and is it crushing them, or is things way too faded and that's just like an amateur look? And is the highlights way too blown out, or same thing, way too faded? The reason I like this one is because next to black, all the shadows are very dark, but there's still some detail and there's just the right amount of fade, which is a nice look that I enjoy. And then in this case, it's really easy to see that all the detail in the highlights is preserved and it's there. Things look sharp and not too overdone. Once we decided on the LUT that we're gonna use, I'm gonna go into my other clip and see how this LUT is treating this clip. First thing I noticed is this clip is a lot darker than the other and I'm losing a lot of detail. So I'm gonna go over here and put a Lumix color onto this clip individually and adjust that. So once the Lumix effect is onto this clip, I go into basic and I'm gonna try to bring up the exposure just a little bit. And then once we adjust things, I'm going to bounce back from file to file to see if they match. So that is my process on color grading my videos. Usually it takes me 2 to 5 hours to really fine tune each clip and get things matching and where I want them to, but that's it in a nutshell. Most important thing to remember, and the biggest piece of advice I can offer, is don't go too far with anything. Keep an eye on those highlights and make sure that there's enough detail in them, and make sure you don't have too much fade in the blacks or go too far and lose all the detail in that either way, because both of those aren't a good look. It's gonna take time for you to really get an eye for all these things, but keep practicing, use this method, tell me if you like it, and show me what you made. See you guys.